Hi,
Hello.
welcome to the show today. Could you start by introducing yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Christine Liu. Right now I'm a fifth year in my PhD in neuroscience at UC Berkeley. I went to University of Oregon for my undergrad and I went straight into grad school. And it was kind of a tough challenge at first, adjusting to graduate school life. I actually found that I had a lot more time after school, after work when I started grad school, because I wasn't trying to cram in like research and like all my hobbies and social time like after I was doing all of my work and research and classes and studying. So in order to have fun while in grad school, I started making a lot of art, which grew into Two Photon. But also I struggled a lot with my identity and the people around me in terms of feeling like I really fit in. I definitely had a lot of imposter syndrome and kind of felt like I didn't really have like as much of a community as I wanted. So that's how the STEM Squad started, when I found there are tons of women that I really resonated with online that just weren't necessarily like in my same program or building, but I could connect with them easily. And that's how the STEM Squad started.
So you've covered a lot about who you are and what you do. Now we're going to go into the specifics so that we can give our viewers a bit more perspective on who you are. So what are you currently working on? You said that you're in grad school. Are you working on any research right now as a fifth year?
Yes, so my program is about like 5.5 or 6 years. So I'm at the very tail end of it. I'm hoping to graduate in about 1 year. So I'm really trying to wrap up my research project. And I've learned throughout doing research for so many years now that things don't always turn out as expected. So now in my last year, I'm trying to figure out how to wrap things up, how to take all the pieces of data that I've collected over the years and make it into a nice cohesive story. So that's my main focus this year. And my focuses have changed along the years, but right now I'm really trying to put most of my energy in that, and then just keeping the STEM Squad and Two Photon art afloat and sustainable, but really trying to put the gas on for finishing my PhD.
You told us how the Two Photon started, but could you tell us what the aim was? Like, what was your intent going into it?
Yeah, a lot of times people think that I had this like grand master like business idea when they see where Two Photon art is now. But this is like 3+ years after I started the business. And it really just started as a way to keep making art and have fun. So I started it with my friend who I met actually at a summer research program for undergraduates when I was at University of Oregon. She was a visiting student. We got along pretty well, and then we actually ended up at another summer research program together the following year at Stanford. And then we just, both of us were kind of artistic, loved science, of course, and kept in touch every single summer after that. And one of the summers, the summer right after I finished my first year of my PhD, and she finished her first year working as an environmental scientist full-time in LA, we wanted to find a way to keep making art, because what we were doing full-time didn't give us time to do that anymore. And we're also both kind of reserved people. We also wanted to try keeping in touch. So we thought, why don't we just start an art project together? We wanted to make this like cool science coloring book, but realized pretty quickly that anything above 50 pages was going to be way too much for us to handle. So we started making these things called zines, which are just like short little DIY magazines. And I actually think I might have one out of frame here. So I'm just going to step out and see if I can grab one real quick. This was one of our first zines. It's called Face Blindness. And it was just really this intention to explore making art without any real barriers or worries about gatekeeping or anything like that. So we just had fun with it. Here's another one. It's called How to Become a Scientist, and it's just really cute, almost like a diary entry. Let the world inspire you. Ask lots of questions. Try to answer them yourselves. Make predictions. So it was really just a way for us to kind of express ourselves and have a creative outlet, because we were so worried in our professional lives about, how do we keep up and how do we maintain this level of professionalism? And we were kind of losing the parts of ourselves where we could just express ourselves without any inhibition. So it really started out as like that. We did not have any idea of making money from it. We just started making art, and then we went to go to events, and then we actually sold a little bit, and so we used all the money that we would get, the profit, and put it back in, and it just grew from there.
amazing. So, how have you grown as an individual through 2Photon, and how do you think that has inspired other people in STEM?
So I think the biggest thing that I learned from doing 2Photon art while I'm in grad school is just not really worrying too much about how other people view how I spend my time. All of this, some people probably see it as a distraction, but it's been so important to my fulfillment and my expression. After Trump was elected for president, I was in a really weird place, and I felt like my views and morals didn't really align really well with what maybe my immediate scientific community wanted to see or how they wanted to talk about these things. And that kind of started channeling through in our 2Photon work also. So as you mentioned, we make all these pins, and you know what, maybe I'll just get up again so that everyone watching can see the context of it. So I'll give you a little tour. So here's all of the pins that we've made. You can see that these are all in chronological order too. So the earliest ones that we've made are in the top here. And then here we have some that say like science is for everyone, water is a human right. So we actually started kind of embedding our political beliefs into our art as well, because there wasn't an immediate outlet for that we had in our professional lives. And you know, every time we do something like that that's kind of vulnerable, it's a little bit risky, but doing that, putting ourselves out there has helped me find a lot of people who feel very similar. So I did kind of risk alienating myself in one way, but it allowed me to find like thousands and thousands of people around the world who felt the exact same way. So now I'm much less afraid to express myself. I feel like there are so many other people in similar positions, and putting myself out there without fear has been really instrumental to me building a community of people that I really resonate with in science and beyond.
That's really interesting. You talk about community a lot, and I just want us to shift into the topic of the STEM Squad. So you told us how it started. You were looking for people who were in the same space as you, but not physically in your environment. So how has that grown? How have you been inspired as a scientist? And how do you bring in other women in STEM? Because the STEM Squad is, correct me if I'm wrong, exclusive to women, right?
It's a group that's basically made to support people who are marginalized by their gender in any sort of way. So it's exclusive to women, non-binary people, people who have a fluid gender identity, so anything like that. Most of it right now is women, cis women, cis straight women, but it's definitely open to everybody. I think there is a definite dominance of like male identifying people in most STEM fields, and I've experienced pretty early on that if I would express something that men just could not understand, like maybe how I didn't really feel comfortable staying in lab until 11 p.m. at night and walking home. And, you know, like a lot of the men would not view that as a problem, but all of the women that were around me would be like, oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like we all felt unsafe that way. So in order to have conversations where we could discuss these things and have most people get it on the first time without having to explain a lot of stuff around it, having this online community with, you know, very little judgment and mostly very understanding has been really helpful. So yeah, it was started off just kind of like 2Photon art on kind of like a whim. I just saw a few like really cool women on Instagram who are doing really amazing stuff in STEM. They were, you know, they had amazing hair, red lipstick on, but also talking about their science, super cool. And I think I was in my first year of grad school, I had this idea that like I had to downplay my femininity. I like stopped wearing makeup. I stopped wearing dresses and skirts just because of like these little comments that would happen. Yeah, and like I thought I was weird, but I found out it's such a pervasive feeling that like we kind of have to feel like we have to choose between like expressing our femininity versus being taken seriously as a scientist. And I saw all these amazing people just breaking those stereotypes and embracing it, and I just thought that was so cool, and I just wanted to like be able to talk to them. So the STEM Squad started off as just a group chat on Instagram, but then you can only have like 20 people in a group chat, so it grew to a Facebook group, and now there's like over 1,000 people in the Facebook group, like thousands of followers on Instagram and on Twitter. But the magical part of it is that I don't really manage it or do really anything at all. So I just like made the group, I made a logo. I don't really advertise it or anything. So all of it's just been growing because everyone who's joined it really wanted something like that in their own lives. And we have these rotational curators on Instagram. So I've never really posted very much on the STEM Squad Instagram myself. I don't think I've even like ever posted a selfie or anything on there. It's all been other people stepping up and volunteering to tell their stories. And then we have this great woman, Sophie, who's managing the STEM Squad Twitter right now. And she's like playing around with all these different like advocacy and like history threads. And so it's like amazing how much this community kind of takes care of itself. Like everyone just sees it as a platform for sharing and supporting each other. And it's just so great.
Fantastic. So how do you think young women in STEM, specifically in undergrad, could have these conversations amongst themselves, amongst their peers in STEM, to make the learning experience more conducive for them and for everyone else included?
Yeah, I think like what you're doing right now with just talking to other like women in STEM undergraduates who are navigating these STEM careers is like the absolute best thing, because even though like, I might have lived through that experience previously, things are always changing. So you have to kind of find people who understand what you're going through very intimately, and to create a community and coalition of people so that the worst thing, is when you complain or mention something that's been bothering you and the other people just don't get it. And instead of being like, oh, I know exactly how you feel, I know exactly what you mean, people try to diminish it or downplay it. And a lot of times this comes from a place of people wanting to help. So I know that like sometimes like professors who made it through a lot of sexism to get to where they are now will diminish maybe the microaggressions that women experience in the field now, even though it is a lot, maybe a lot better than it used to be in terms of like overt sexism. It's still there, and just because it's better doesn't mean it's all fine. So I think creating spaces where you don't see them in order to bring people together who can really support each other as you all go through this journey, I think that's like instrumental. That's key, because not only are you creating opportunities for each other, you're creating a safe space where you can have really honest discussions and really support each other, and it snowballs from there. It keeps growing. So I think like having the courage just to put yourself out there like you have and create a space like this is the most important thing. So thank you for what you're doing for all of the people in your community now.
Awesome. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for that encouragement. My last question is, if you could go back to your undergrad days and do something different to make your voice heard or to make your opinions stronger to the community around you, what would you do?
So this advice that I should have taken back then is probably something that I should still take now, but I personally have a lot of trouble asking authority figures for help. So, maybe one of the reasons why I started the STEM Squad and started 2 Photon Art is because I still have something in me that makes it difficult for me to go find a professor and sit in their office and open up to them about all the things that I need help with. So I'm still working on that, of finding mentors, finding supporters, and reaching out to them. So I would definitely advise my past self to do that, and I still am working on that now to put myself out there, because another important thing that I see all the time that I absolutely love is people reaching out to me, reaching out to other people, and just asking for advice. I really respect the people who do that, and those are the people who are taking it, putting it into their own hands. Getting the information they need, getting the support they need in order to be successful. So if anyone's out there, in a very unique situation, but you see someone on Twitter or Instagram or on a university webpage who has a story that's similar, you can just cold email them and ask them their perspective and experience. There's this whole thing that people do called informational interviews, where you can just chat someone up. And I do these once every week or once every 2 weeks, because really I love to be able to share the simple things that I know now with people who have yet to learn them, because it's a very effective way to pass information on. So don't hesitate, if anyone out there is watching, to reach out to someone who has gone through already something similar to you so that they can give you really curated, customized advice.
Thank you so much. And then on a side note, if people want stuff from 2Photon or want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do so?
You can just email me at christineluart@gmail.com. And if you're interested in just browsing the 2Photon website or Instagram, the website is 2photonart.com and our Instagram is @2Photon. So yeah, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'm pretty busy these days, so I'm trying to write more blog posts, but definitely whenever people reach out to me, I always respond, even if it's I'm going to try to answer your questions via email, even if I don't have time for a phone call. But just know that there are so many people out there who are really, really happy to help the next generation. Sometimes it's hard to even know what value we can provide to those. So it's always a big compliment when someone reaches out and asks for help, thinking that we might know how to help them, even though, we're just all out here trying to figure things out. So always take advice with a grain of salt. But most people are just so happy to help.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that information, because I believe that information is only valuable when you share with other people and you work on something together.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me here today and allowing me to amplify my messages to people. And thank you for creating this space. I've watched some of the other videos that you've been doing, and I just think what you're doing is amazing. And I expect to see it grow as big as some of the other things I've started on a whim, just because I thought it was necessary and kept working on it year after year. So I'm excited to see where this takes you, Tabitha.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.